Maybe you can listen with me a moment to the silence. Around you, around us. As a group, and maybe also around us as humanity. And in this silence, everything is right there. Silence is an energy field. In this silence, there is something. It's not only silent, it is packed with energy and emotion and information. And within these energy fields, we are all connected. And this energy field is will not lose anything. Everything what happened in the past, and everything what is right now, is in this energy field around us. And this energy field is not only around us, it is also in us. It is radiating through every cell of our body and every part of our soul and every part of our aura. And nothing is outside of this energy field. No human being on this earth is outside of this energy field. We are all connected. And the animals and the plants and the earth is not outside of this energy field, it's part of it. And the things outside of our earth, the moon, the sun, the stars, the galaxies, they are not outside of this energy field. It's all part of one big energy field. And if you listen to the silence around you, you have it all there. You have it all there. And even if you don't sense it all the way, you still can know that it is there. All your connections are right there. All your connections back to the ancestors far away in time and space are there. All the connections to the loved ones in the present time are there. And the connections to the ones you knew in this lifetime and they were already gone, these connections to those people are there. And even the connections to the future, the calling of the future, what happens in the future, it's already there. And now if there is anything happening in the present time, actually now, whatever it is, whether it's a disease or a pain or a symptom or a sadness or a joy or anxiety or love. This is all saying something. It has a sense because it is connected to all those qualities of the energy field. So there is a deeper sense to everything. And if there are events or something which you don't like a symptom or a disease or a depression or whatever, or maybe also a wish for a partner which you don't have, and for some reason cannot get, or if you have a partner, but there are problems, the separation, problems with children. This has all sense. There is a cause to that. And the cause lays in the energy field around us. And constellation work, of course, developed by Bert Hellinger, is a wonderful tool, gives us a wonderful possibility to get information about the energy field around us and in us. Because constellation work, as most of you know, you can represent a position. You can represent somebody in a constellation. And it could be a person, it could be a disease, it could be an organ, it could be a depression, it could be joy, it could be anything which is of interest of a human being. And the representative will just open up like a radio receiver for the information which is important to know to understand the actual problem. And we will, in this workshop, have plenty experiences with that. So to know where the energetic cause of a disease, a problem, a symptom is, brings you into a state where you have more chance for healing. And basically there are three major energetic backgrounds of problems and diseases and symptoms. And the most frequent one is the one Bert Hellinger discovered. It is unresolved trauma in the family of origin. That means somebody else, not you, somebody else in your family experienced a trauma in the former generation. Or it could be also brothers and sisters or former generations like parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. And it could be maybe I explain a little bit about trauma, why that is so important. Most of those problems go back to an unresolved trauma. A trauma is an event where you are threatened by life, endangered, maybe in danger for that your borders are not respected, like in sexual abuse, or if you are in danger for life, an accident, or in danger even, being in the womb before you even are at birth. There could be also some danger, trauma, or at birth or later in life. Or if you are adult and you're a soldier in war, or you happen to be in a war site as a civil person, whatever you experience there as life-threatening, as something which is bringing yourself in danger, is a trauma. And there is a certain repeating reaction to a life-threatening or otherwise threatening situation. And I call that immediate close down on the body side, on the soul side, and the spirit side. So if it's before it becomes too overwhelming, not bearable, there is like a protection reaction. And animals have that too. So that you protect yourself by closing down all the channels of perception. So you don't feel the pain, you don't feel the anger, you don't feel the anxiety, or you feel all that, but you don't feel what's coming. So in life-threatening situations, or if somebody is killed, then the soul can freeze into the situation and does not experience what's coming. Time stops for this person right then. And if death comes, they don't experience death. So what happens is that they still think and feel the traumatic situation. So they're in the energy field of those souls, the anxiety is still there, the pain is still there, the horror of the situation is still there. And as time stops, it stays there for decades or hundreds of years until something happens which heals that, which brings that soul out of this frozen state of trauma. And now, talking about burdened energies from a family system, from an unresolved trauma of the ancestors, parents, great-parents, great-grandparents, and so on. Those you find trauma often. Somebody was in a war, or was killed, or was in a dangerous situation, or experienced somebody else to be killed. Then the energies of those souls could be still in the family, because the person who is in a frozen state is part of a family system. And because the energy field of a person is part of the energy field of the whole family, this is part of the energy field of the whole family, and can then be transmitted through the generations until the third, fourth, or fifth generation. So unresolved trauma in the family system of former generations is the most frequent energetic background of problems, diseases, and symptoms. But this is not always the case. There are other energetic background of problems and diseases and symptoms. And the second one is a trauma which you experienced yourself in this lifetime, like in childhood or youth. And of course, obviously you survived that, but it could still be that in the traumatic situation, where you were afraid, where you were maybe in danger to lose your life. And for example, if you as a baby had to go to the hospital alone, and for the little baby to be separated, I call that separational trauma. If you're separated from your family as a little child or a baby, you don't understand what's coming. So for you, it is life-threatening, because the protection is gone. And then what happens then, that a part of your soul might be still frozen even after you survive that. And you live on and you want to forget it, of course, but then there might be still a part of your soul which is frozen in the trauma. For this part, the trauma is not over, it's still ongoing. And this has also some place in your body, where then it's tight, and the body is tight. And it can cause, like what we call that post-traumatic syndrome, physical pain, physical disease, depression, anxiety. Always in those situations, those feelings will pop up when you experience a situation which just slightly reminds of the initial trauma in childhood or youth. In the constellation work, you will find that out. You can find that out in the symptom constellation. And then you work with that. What you basically do is that you lead the client, or the client is led back to the trauma with you on the side, and to collect and to bring that part of the soul which is still frozen in the trauma back towards the present moment. And then you, in an active, very conscious act of ritual, you will be able to integrate that part into your whole personality now. And this is a tremendous emotional act which heals on a deep level. This is the second. We had the unresolved trauma in family system in former generations, and this is now a trauma which you experienced yourself in this life. And then a third area of energetic cause of a problem, symptom, or disease is also not seldom, and like 20 to 30% of the clients who come to me to make a constellation have this background. And this is also a personal trauma, but not in this life, in a former life. And in a former life, there's unresolved trauma. Normally, this is trauma where you lost your life, or the one you were in that former life, to be correct. The one you were in that former life who lost the life. So there can also be a part then of your soul still back there, a part of your soul which should have come over to this life and be with you, but it's frozen in the former life experience. And in a constellation, in a symptom constellation, you can open up for that, and if this is the case, you might find it. And then you learn about the situation, what really happened. In the constellation will tell you, because the constellation has a direct connection to this energy field where all those things are written in, they are inscribed in this energy field around you, in this silence around you. And then the part of the healing is then also to bring this part of the soul over the border, which is normally separating the former life and this life. And then there is a reunion in a ritual, of course, possible, which is also very touching, very strengthening, and joyful most of the time. Okay, those are the main bigger backgrounds of energetic backgrounds of problems, diseases, and symptoms. Now, there is another method which I combine with constellation work, and this is a shamanic healing method. I call it healing voices, because voices and sounds are a big part of it. There's a long story how that developed in my life and in my work. So I did not learn that from somebody else. It just popped up in my work. And of course, I had connections to shamans, and I have shamans who are and were my friends, and I saw them work, but I never thought that I would be, as a medical doctor, then also doing shamanic work later. But it developed in the last 25 years. And what it is, the story how that developed is on the webpage, and maybe later on I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But what it really is, the normal constellation work, what you get connection to is like we call it the field, or the informational field. And this is like information packed invisibly in the air. And 30 years ago when I talked about it, people said, well, he's a freak, how can that be? But today, nobody is wondering, because we use Wi-Fi every day. It's like a special Wi-Fi field. All the informations about the trauma consequences and all the feelings in the air and the connections in the energy field, all those informations are here everywhere. I'm sure that they are also in the back of the moon. They are just in space. And like in a Wi-Fi field, and in a normal Wi-Fi field, we need a receiver, like a laptop or whatever, what you have in front of you is a receiver for this information. And the air in your room is packed with information, all the websites and all the telephone calls, all the movies, it's all there. And this was one of the most precious discoveries of Bert Hellinger, that he found out that for this kind of information, we have also a receiver. And this is the human being. We as human beings have the possibility to be this receiver and with our intuitive perception, just stand there, define for whom we are standing, and we get information about this person, even if this person is dead for a long time. So this is the informational field which we access through normal constellation work. Now with shamanic work, with healing voices, it's different. The healing energies which work in healing voices, they are also in the air, everywhere, like also in a special Wi-Fi field. But it's not information, it is pure healing energy. And this energy is able to help us, and obviously also willing to do that, but for some reason it needs, it cannot be effective by itself. It needs, like also a receiver, it needs a medium, a channel, somebody, a human being who is able and willing to be a channel for, and a medium for these shamanic healing energies who are everywhere. And when I work with healing voices in a constellation, when you can work with healing voices without a constellation, you just invite those energies to heal the person in front of you, and then you just follow the energy, follow the movements, like in a constellation. And in a constellation, I just go in, not in the beginning. It is like in the end phase of a constellation, when everything is clear where the energetic burden is coming from, where the initial trauma was, and the persons and the people and the souls who are connected to that are already in the constellation. And now in the last phase of the constellation, where you cannot heal or cannot get a good solution with the classical tools of constellation work, I use I work with healing voices. And what I do is I go into the constellation to a spot there and define that position as the position of the healers. And then I go there as a representative, and then I invite those healing forces, those healing powers, to heal in the different layers and levels of the system of the client. And then after I invited them, and I do that without talking, so you will not hear that, but you can know that I do that. I invite those healing powers to heal in the system of the client if they want and if they can. I always say that. So it's an invitation, and it's totally free for them to do it or not. But most of the time they want and they do, and then I just follow the energy. They move, so I lend them my body for a few minutes for gestures, because it goes through gestures. And I lend them my voice, because it goes through sounds. And the healing energy works through gestures and sounds. And so I follow that. And I don't interfere with it at all. It's not me. It is them just using my body, using my voice. And so to really be able to do it, you have to be really pure and free of any ego thing, any ego or imagination that you would know what to do. You don't. I just go with the flow there. And then what they really do, and we will also experience that in this workshop several times, I guess, what they do is that they free the souls out of the frozen state of the trauma. And this is not only true for the client, the female or male client, it is also true if we go into a family constellation in a former generation, they also free the souls of the trauma of the past. And this could be hundreds of years ago. And they can do that. I could not do that. I would not know how. But obviously they can. And what you see is then, if you have a group here, representatives in the constellation, that they open up. They come, from maybe laying on the ground, having pain and being in anxiety. They slowly come up, and some of them open up to the sky like this. Like being able then, being free as a soul to walk the path that they obviously should after death. They open up, and then the souls can go open, free of aggression, free of revenge, and then their energy field is clean, is somehow good, positive. So it is the burdens which came from that energy field of that soul into the family field over the generations, this cause is then gone. There's no need to carry a burden in the third or fourth generation. And if you experience that as the one who was carrying the burden, if you're the client, for so long, and maybe only not the first one in your family, then it is a very healing experience to see that there is no reason for that. They are in good shape, they are healed. And this heals also. Now it's much easier for you to really let go of a burden and let go of the pain and let go of the depression. So this is what Healing Voices does, and it does some of the victims, victims murdered victims in war times, or whenever and wherever it happened, they can have that, or then the other reaction the representatives often show is that they come up, stand there, also being free and reconnecting to the other victims, if there are many who also come up and reconnect on eye level and forming a community again, which is also very, very joyful for those souls. And the representatives of those souls and for those people, they sense that. So I learned about the possibilities of Healing Voices, and I learned about what they can do and how they heal and to which extent they are able to heal. I learned from the representatives in the constellation when Healing Voices is done.